Hi, welcome to Bipolar Boxing Picks. This is Nick. Saturday night, we got Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. What an absolutely great fight this is going to be. I hate to sound like everybody else and be a hack, but this is a true 50-50 fight. I went back and forth so long. It's another thing everyone's saying. I've been back and forth on who I think I'm going to pick. Pretty much, I mean, I get it. If you're a Garcia fan and you don't like Tank Davis, you're picking Garcia. You can make a lot of good points for Garcia to win. Same thing with Tank Davis. If you like Tank Davis, you're just automatically going with him here. I mean, you're going to take your guy when they fight another big fighter. I'm in the middle here because I don't have a dog in the fight. I love both of these fighters. I know there's a lot of people that they're one or the other, but that's just because of what they do outside of boxing. I'm just talking about pure boxing ability. I love both of these guys. I think both of them have potential for greatness, and they're probably both going to be Hall of Famers when it's all said and done. I honestly believe that with both of these guys. And this is an easy fight to overthink too, because there's so many good. If you look at Ryan Garcia, like you can say that he hasn't fought the competition as Tank Davis, but like Tank Davis hasn't fought anybody like Ryan Garcia, and it's the same the other way around. Like Tank Davis's opponents have been better, but you could say like Leo Santa Cruz is a great fighter. Well, beating Leo Santa Cruz doesn't really do anything to help you against Ryan Garcia. They're two completely different skill sets, and it's the same for all the guys that Ryan Garcia fought. Like he hasn't fought the greatest of competition, but beating guys like Luke Campbell does absolutely nothing to get you to prepare for Gervonta Tank Davis. So there's a ton of unknowns in this fight. So it's very tough to pick. You can be very confident in your pick here, but you have to know in the back of your head that like I'm not going to be surprised if this happens or whatever. Like you can't really be surprised on any outcome in this fight. You can't be surprised. All the four outcomes, Ryan by knockout, it could happen. Ryan on points, it could happen. Tank on points, it could happen. Tank on knockout by knockout, it could happen. I'm not gonna be surprised by any outcome in this fight. But if you ask me to put money on one thing, I'm just not betting against Tank Davis. And it's especially like I see Ryan Garcia has potential for greatness, but I don't see that greatness coming to its prime until another like 3 years at least, I think. Ryan Garcia is only like 24 years old. Like when he gets to Tank's age, he'll be in his prime. But the problem is that's where Tank is right now. And like I said, Ryan's got a different skill set than everybody else Tank has fought. But Tank has figured out better boxers than Ryan Garcia. He's figured guys out like Leo Santa Cruz. He figured Hector Luis Garcia out, and man, when he cracked him with that punch, that might have been the thing that swung me as far as like initially I thought Ryan Garcia was going to win this fight. And I would have just picked him on points. I would have just said Tank's going to give away too many rounds, and Ryan will be able to stay away from him. But the more and more I watch Tank fight, I underrated him immensely in how cerebral of a fighter he is. The guy is absolutely brilliant, and he has a skill set to go with it. And this is just not the style I'm picking to beat Tank Davis. As Ryan Garcia's, he's very fast with his hands. That does not mean he's a fast fighter because his feet are not fast. You need that to go along with your hand. I would almost rather you have quick feet than anything to beat Tank Davis. Because if you stand there, what are you going to do? Like out of all the unknowns in this fight, this is the one I'm most worried about. Is what do you do when you're Ryan Garcia and you're hitting round 6 and Tank decides to walk you down because he's downloaded everything that you threw in the first 5 rounds and he's not afraid of getting knocked out and he just decides to walk you down. What are you going to do? And I think Ryan Garcia is going to crumble under that. That's not a knock on him at all. I don't mean to use words like crumble under pressure or whatever, but that's what's going to happen. Tank is going to eventually going to start to pressure Tank Davis. I don't think it's going to be till later on in the fight, and when he decides to do it, it might take a couple of rounds, but eventually he's going to do it, and it's going to happen. That's just the way I see the fight happening. My one knock against Tank Davis has always been he gives away too many rounds. Eventually, when he fights a fighter that's on his level or somewhat close to it, he's going to get outboxed. But Ryan Garcia doesn't have the skill set to do that, I don't think. I'm not worried about Tank Davis getting knocked out. I don't believe that guy will ever be knocked out in his career, and I don't think it's going to happen here. But that's Ryan Garcia's only path to victory, really, is he's going to have to knock Tank out, and he's going to have to do it early. He's going to have to do it before Tank decides to put his foot on the gas, because whenever he decides to put his foot on the gas, he goes and knocks somebody out. This fight could be very similar to a fight a couple weeks ago, Lee Wood versus Mauricio Lara. And my prediction was the same for that fight. Like, Mauricio Lara is going to give away rounds, but when he's do that, he's calculating. He's calculating. And eventually you're going to make a mistake. Tank Davis is very famous for saying, you have to be perfect for 36 minutes. I only have to be perfect for 3 seconds. He's 100% right. That's what happened in the Lara versus Wood fight. Wood was up on the cards. Lara, it did not matter. That was not in Mauricio Lara's game plan to knock out or to win a decision against Lee Wood. I don't think it's going to be in Tank Davis's game plan to outpoint Garcia, even though I think he has a skill set to outpoint him as well. But I don't think that he's going to do that. He's very economical with his punches, which causes him to lose rounds, but it also doesn't give the other guy a lot to work with. The guy thinks that what he's doing is working, and that's the genius in Tank Davis's the economic punching of his. Ryan Garcia is going to just think he's winning. He's a very well, I don't want to say Devin, but in my opinion, he's a very egotistical guy. And when you're fighting and you're winning rounds, and this is the biggest fight of your life by far, it's one of the biggest fights in all of boxing, he is not going to be able to. He's going to have to take his foot off the gas after he starts winning, and if he goes into survival mode, Tank will catch him. But Tank is just going to put his foot on the ground, and when that happens, all I got to say to Garcia is you better punch when he punches. That's your only shot to win, because eventually he's going to catch you. Just either go after him in the first 4 rounds, or if it becomes late and he starts walking you down, stand your ground and punch with him. That's the only shot you got, because if not, his feet are too slow, and Tank will catch him. Tank is going to pick up on stuff like that. He's going to pick up and say, like, this guy does not know how to keep defense. If I put this guy on his back foot, he's not going to be able to put a jab in my face and keep me away from him. Like, Ryan Garcia is a much bigger guy naturally. And that's the other thing, like the rehydration clause, I do not think that'll come into effect. To be honest, I don't see why Ryan Garcia would even follow that clause. What is Tank Garcia going to do if he comes in overweight? What, Ryan's going to pay him a bunch of money? Hey, if you're going to win this fight, come in 10 pounds heavier than that weight if you want to, and just pay the stupid fine. They're not going to stop this fight from happening because Ryan Garcia weighs 4 pounds over the contracted weight. All right, just give the money away. If you can win this fight, give the money away and come in there whatever the hell you want. But because some people are saying Ryan Garcia is going to be weight drained, and when you're weight drained against a puncher, that's not a good thing. And a guy like Tank Davis will knock you out anyway. But Tank Davis would knock him out if he was 160 pounds. I mean, Tank Davis hits hard enough to be able to knock you out no matter what weight. But I don't like the fact that they even have that rematch clause, because it makes Tank Davis's it takes a little something away from his victory. How much, you decide. But I don't see it as much at all. But like I said, if you're Ryan Garcia, screw that weight class. Yeah, I'll sign it to get the fight done. But like I said, the fight ain't going to stop because of that. But like I said, and that's the other unknown here. Like, we don't know how Ryan Garcia can take a punch. We don't know how well Tank can take a punch either. But, I mean, if either one of them lands, let me get this straight too. Like, if either one of them lands, I think the other one's out. And if they're not out, they're getting finished within that round. But I don't see either guy surviving. So if either one knocks the other one down, I think the fight's going to be over. The guy who knocked the other guy down will win the fight. They'll get the stoppage. There's a lot of people are like, even I watch Mighty Max Boxing. I've been watching that kid for years. That kid he's an absolute wizard when it comes to boxing knowledge. And even he said, like, in one of his prediction videos, he said that he thinks both fighters are going to hit the ground in this one. And I don't see that happening. Either guy, I mean, Ryan Garcia is a very, very strong puncher. Yeah, we don't know how well Tank's chin is, but I don't like the people saying that, well, Tank can knock out Ryan, but Ryan can't knock out Tank. I don't, and it's the other way around. Like, I don't agree with either one. Like, they can both knock each other out, dude. Like, Ryan Garcia can go up to 140 pounds, and I don't see why he doesn't do that. I think that would be a great idea for him after this fight. I don't think he's going to beat anybody of those top guys at 135. I don't think he even beats Lomachenko. I don't think he beats Haney. A guy like Frank Martin, I think, beats him. There's just too many good fighters in there. Like, his skill set's great. I love Ryan Garcia's skill set, but it's not set for those guys in that weight class. Like, those guys are all going to beat him, in my opinion. But you go up to 140, it's wide open at 140. I don't know why more of these guys at 135. Dude, if you're not going to fight each other at 135, which they actually seem to be doing. You got Haney and Lomachenko next month. You got this fight this month. They do seem to be doing it. But if you don't want to fight any of these guys at 135, just go up to 140 and automatically get the winner of, Josh Taylor or Teofimo Lopez. Any of these guys, these top guys at 135 would go up and beat those guys at 140. And I think even Ryan Garcia, I would favor him to beat both of those guys. I'd favor him to beat Josh Taylor. And I'd definitely favor him to beat Teofimo Lopez. I think he'd knock him out. But, we'll see what happens. But like I said before, I'm not going to be surprised at anything that happens in this fight, any outcome. But the pick I'm making, if you want me to pick this fight, there's certain fighters that I see as special in this sport, and I do not bet against special fighters unless they're fighting other special fighters. I will not bet against Tank until he fights Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson, I would pick to beat anybody else at 135, but it's very razor thin, and you cannot count out a guy like Tank Davis in any fight. You can't. His knockout power, his defensive ability, his cerebral fighting it's way too good to count him out in every fight. But Shakur Stevenson's just in a different level, in my opinion. But like I said, special fighters and Ryan Garcia, I would say he's way above average fighter, but he's just a step below all these top guys at 135. And it's not a knock on Ryan Garcia, but this weight class is just too good. And Tank Davis is another thing. Like, he's in his prime. Like, he's been training with the same trainer for years. Like, being with Joe Goosen is great, but like, you've only had one fight with him. And maybe Ryan will come out and surprise us. Maybe him and Joe Goosen have been working on some stuff, and he doesn't want to show it in a fight against Tank Davis. That's the benefit of the doubt I'll give Ryan Garcia here is. Maybe he thinks that, like, I don't want a tune-up fight because I don't want to show Tank Davis. Tank Davis, that's what the guy does. He studies you, and he studies you during the fight. Don't give him a lot of options. So that's another thing in this fight. Like, if you're Ryan Garcia, maybe when you're winning rounds, just win the round, but don't show him too much. Because the more you show Tank Davis, the more he is going to calculate, and eventually he's just going to figure it out. He's too smart of a fighter, and he's got the ability to back it up. So, like I said, I'm going to say round 6, Tank Davis steps on the gas pedal. In round 7, I think he knocks him out. So I'm going to say round 7 KO for Tank Davis. Put who you think's going to win in the comments. In this fight and the Joe Cordina versus Rakhmonov fight, in that fight, I probably got Cordina by knockout, but I honestly think Shavkat Rakhmonov could pull an upset there and just outvolume the crap out of Joe Cordina. Because Joe Cordina is a very picky fighter, too. These two fights could be very similar. And but I think, Rakhmonov's eventually going to get knocked out there, too. But it's a great night of boxing. I mean, the undercards aren't going to be too competitive, but there's great fighters on there. And you even, hey, who doesn't want to see a guy like Gabe Rosado fight? He's a 16-1 underdog, but he beat this guy last time. He knocked him out with that amazing one-punch knockout. But David Morrell, everyone wants to see him. I would love to see Morrell versus Benavidez next. I don't think we're gonna get Canelo Benavidez. Definitely not within a year or so. Canelo's gonna go after Bivol, after Ryder. And Benavidez is going to have to sit there. He's going to have to fight somebody else. I think David Morrell, for boxing, maybe he doesn't have a name attached to him, but I think David Morrell would be a great fight for him. And we'll see how dominant he looks in this fight. But I'd love to see that coming up. But yeah, great night of boxing. And like I said, let me know who you guys think's going to win. All right, have a good night.